Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host, from In Hindsight, Nathan Heitz. From Steelers Nation Australia, Mark Davison. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J. Here we go.
Daniel and I are back. Everybody, Unofficial Steelers Podcast. It's been a couple weeks since Daniel and I have been on here. So it's good to be back behind the microphone and on this show. Kind of took a week off. I told Daniel just kind of took a week off last week because there just wasn't really a lot going on. And I didn't really feel like rehashing things that we already talked about. But this week, or this this week, this past week, whatever, has kind of been pretty kind of busy, pretty busy. Definitely some newsworthy things have happened and some things getting thrown around. So Daniel and I will talk about that. Steelers fan, what's up? George, what's up, man? Good to see you. Daniel, welcome back. How have you been? How's your week been going on?
It's been good, man. A lot of news coming in for the Steelers this week, so that's been exciting. The cleaning house already. Some players.
I was kind of surprised. It was kind of like right away.
Yeah, like right all of a sudden, and they were gone. I thought that they may have. Well, I think there's some clues to what went down. By releasing, for instance, Mitch Trubisky, that told me that. Well, one, all they have now is Kenny Pickett, right, for 2024.
Yeah.
I felt like if they didn't have somebody, whether that was in free agency or in, it has to be in free agency, that they have somebody in mind already, and they probably have some sort of deal set, some kind of, handshake agreement. And the reason being is because if you don't, and you can't get, like, for instance, a Mason Rudolph or somebody else, then you're stuck with Kenny Pickett and, somebody in the bottom barrel of the free agency and then maybe the draft. And then there's no real competition there. You know what I'm saying? And so I think by releasing him in the manner that they did in the time that they did, I think they have, their eyes on or an agreement with a quarterback. Now, I thought that QB was going to be probably Mason Rudolph. The Steelers have talked about it quite a bit and talked highly of him and bringing him back. But it didn't happen yet. Now, if they're letting him, Mr. Trubisky go, Mason Rudolph can get signed right now. Mm-hmm. So maybe there is some more, weight to that rumor that Ryan Tannehill is expected to sign with the Steelers.
Yeah, I don't know. His name's been thrown out there. I know that they really need a clear cap room, and we all knew Mitch was going to be gone. Afton, what's up? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. We all knew they needed clear cap space. Mitch, I think they have to eat a little bit of money, don't they?
A little bit, but they saved some too. I think they end up putting like $3 million back in their pocket by doing that. So you got to add that also to, this new quarterback that they're bringing in, because they saved, 3, but I think they lost 5, right? So you have to add that $5 million basically to whatever contract you get for the next quarterback that comes in, to make, that's basically what it is, right? You're paying $5 million to Mr. Trubisky for that quarterback position that this new quarterback position is coming in. So for that single position there, it's $5 million, more added onto it. So, I don't know how much Ryan Tannehill is going to be asking for. I wouldn't think it's a lot. He's a guy that's up there in age. He got beat out by a rookie in his last, showing in his last season as a Tennessee Titan. I think he had a couple of years there where he was solid. But like we said last time, I mean, this guy's not really, lighting off fireworks and things like that for me. I think you're frozen. I think he is. He might actually be. So until he comes back, I guess I can take over the show. Are you back?
Are we good?
Yeah, we're good. You were frozen.
Okay. Sorry, guys. Yeah, a little bit of the some type of internet connection going on there.
Yeah.
All right, we're
So
good. We're good.
yeah, like I was saying, then I think that there might be some more weight there for the Ryan Tannehill. I don't think he's going to get a lot of attention out there, given his age and his last year his performance. It wasn't the best. So I think the Steelers are going to get him. He's going to be relatively less expensive. Do you think that Arthur Smith is going to favor him though over Kenny Pickett if it ends up being Ryan Tannehill?
Real quick, happy birthday, Afton. Hope you've had a good birthday. I think Arthur Smith will favor him. Probably not. Like, just because he kind of played with them and everything. Like, Arthur Smith. I don't know. To me, it's like cliche or like cheesy in a way of just. I don't know. It's always been something for me of where I never really bought in fully to like just because a team has a set coach that they're gonna bring in guys that have other players that have been with them. So like with Ryan Tannehill, I get it. I get the thing in the way he was with Arthur Smith. He was Arthur Smith's quarterback for a couple years. He's a veteran guy that's been in the league that if the Steelers don't bring anybody else, like that he could fit here. But really the question is like, or not even the question. It's not even a question. If you bring Ryan Tannehill, there's no competition there, Daniel.
Yeah, there isn't. I don't think
It's not
there's.
going to be a quarterback competition in any way. So if you really want to bring in competition for Kenny Pickett, I don't think Ryan Tannehill is the answer for that. But I know that his name's been thrown out there with ties with Arthur Smith, but I'm not hoping that happens. I'm hoping that does not happen.
I agree with you.
That might be the worst quarterback room in the league if that happens.
I don't disagree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
Yeah.
But I think that there's more to it than just rumors and a connection between the former offensive coordinator. It was Tom Pelissero, Ian Rappaport, and Mark Garofalo. I think that's his last name.
Yeah, that's his name.
These guys, basically what they said was like based on their inside information, this was expected to happen. First day of, after the Super Bowl, they dropped Mitch Trubisky. That tells me that they have a quarterback that they've either has, they have a handshake deal on, and you can get a real deal with Mason Rudolph. You don't need to wait until free agency starts. So, I think that if we would have seen this move and Mason Rudolph signed with the team, I think it would have happened by now. The Steelers can give him an offer, and maybe they did. And he said, I just want to see if anybody else is going to match that. And the Steelers decided that they were going to get, Ryan Tannehill. They don't have time to wait. You know what I mean? And I think that there's a possibility that's what's going to end up happening. I think that I don't know. I don't know how people are going to react to this. The Steelers Nation and the fan base are very vocal and emotional when it comes to their team and the players, and especially if they're, playing poorly. The fire in Matt Canada spread from, Acrisure Stadium to across the United States into college games and hockey games and things like that. So, if this doesn't work, how long do you think it's going to be before the Steelers fans are going to turn on the team? I think they turned on Canada pretty quick last year.
What if like the quarterback situation doesn't work?
If the offense doesn't work.
Oh, well,
because
honestly,
of the quarterback situation.
If they, let's just say they roll in there, they just roll in with Pickett and whoever else. I think it will be very, very quick. Come game one, Devin, what's up, man? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're staying out of trouble. But I think it'll be very quick, Daniel. If you start to see struggles right away, it's gonna be very quick.
I agree. I mean, I don't think it'll change.
I think
depending on who the quarterback is.
Right now is very, very thin.
Yeah,
I don't even want to say that. I don't even think there is patience anymore.
No, I don't think there is. And this move.
I'm gonna tell you that right now, Daniel. I don't have any to sit here, and the people out there that just want to roll in with Kenny next year, I don't have the patience for that. I don't. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm gonna fall asleep during the games.
No,
I'd probably rather just watch Red Zone.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
So
But
that's so like if you're gonna roll in with really as basic as it comes, it's gonna happen very, very fast. It really is because people have been tired of this stuff the last 3 years. The Steelers have had a historically awful offense for a little while now, and if they're not really gonna put too much effort in trying to turn that around, why should the fans care?
I agree with you on that one.
And they're
I
going to
mean,
care because they're fans, but it's gonna get out of hand quick for sure.
right. And I think it's going to fall on maybe not so much the quarterback, situation. I think it's going to fall strictly on the shoulders of the head coach. And if they give him an extension, how is that going to look? The guy that they get an extension to is getting, the fire Mike Tomlin chance in the first quarter of the season. That's
Right.
not a good look. And maybe that's why he hasn't gotten his extension. Maybe Rooney's letting this play out, see what he does. It was probably Coach T's decision to get Canada. It was Coach T's decision to fire him.
Yeah.
At the moment that he did in the middle of the season. It was Coach T's decision for Arthur Smith, and it's going to be Coach T's decision on who is going to be the competition for Kenny Pickett. Now, history doesn't, show that he's brought in the best quarterbacks himself. Outside of Ben Roethlisberger, who wasn't brought in by Coach T. I don't know. I've always questioned his evaluation of the quarterback position, and I just think that it could get bad pretty quick. Now, there's a good possibility that it works, and if it does, I think there's going to be a lot of people eating crow, including myself, and I'll be happy to do so. I want the Steelers to win at the end of the day. I don't have much faith that the Steelers are going to be able to get to where we want them to get to with a Ryan Tannehill or even a Kenny Pickett if he beats him out.
Yeah, 100%. It's just it's so boring. Like you really just want to go in like that. Like I don't get it, dude. I really don't. I don't know what else people want to see or are holding out hope for with Kenny, dude. I don't, because you realize that Kenny's going to have the biggest turnaround in NFL history, right?
Yeah.
It seriously, he is the worst quarterback statistically in NFL history under the merger.
Yeah. Statistically, with over, I think, like 50 pass attempts, which isn't a lot. I think that's like in 2 games. Anybody who's played more than 2 games has had a better touchdown to per play percentage.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So we'll just put that on the table. You realize how big of a turnaround he's going to have, right? So what's the possibility that he's going to have that? It's not very high.
I mean, right. I don't think that we're going to see that big of a turnaround from him. Can he take another step? I think he can. But do I think that step is going to be anywhere close to what we saw Mason do at the end of the season? I don't think so.
Not at all.
I think we might be able to go from 6 touchdowns in 10 games to about maybe 9 or 10 touchdowns, in 10 games.
Yeah.
That's the step I can see.
That's what I've said is like why it's like, okay, well, I want to see what he does with new offensive coordinator. But like ultimately, who cares? Because do you really think that under a new OC and new coaching, this guy's going to turn into a top 15 quarterback? No, it's not going to happen. That's going to be a historic turnaround if that happens. You want to go from maybe the 31st worst quarterback in the league to the 26th? You're okay with that?
Right. Well, here's the thing. I know the Steelers are saying that this is going to be a competition, but they said the same thing when they got Mitch Trubisky. They drafted Mason Rudolph. I mean, Kenny Pickett, and they had Mason Rudolph in.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be that much of a competition, man. To be honest with you, I mean, let's look at. No, I don't think it is like already, and I think think Kenny Pickett knows it. If you look at his behavior towards the end of the season, it wasn't that great. It didn't sound like, all right. He didn't dress right. He didn't dress for that one game. When he was healthy enough to play, but didn't dress. Even Ben Roethlisberger dressed, and backed up Landry Jones that one year. And Landry Jones got hurt in the first play, and then Ben came in, and I think he has the record for best backup quarterback coming into a game. But I digress. There, he dressed. Kenny
Yeah.
didn't, and he said, the trainers and the medical staff said that I'm only healthy enough to start. That doesn't make any sense. They don't tell you
No.
that.
Yeah.
It's
No.
it's either you're
It
healthy
really
enough
doesn't.
to go in, or you're not. And
Yeah.
then at the end of the year, they have their end of season, um, interviews, and then they have where the media can talk to him, and he just bounces. He doesn't talk to
Mhm.
him at all. I mean,
Yeah.
I would assume that he didn't get the best of news in that meeting. And then you hear what Art Rooney has been saying.
Mhm.
He's just throwing it out there to anybody that will hear. I mean, you can ask, hey, how's your day going? He's like, you know what? The Steelers need better quarterback play. It
Right.
doesn't matter what the question is. He's like,
Yeah.
hey, what are y'all going to do with the safety position? I think we're going to, bring in another guy, and the quarterback play needs to get better. I mean, that's basically what
Yeah.
he's been doing. It's just,
Yeah.
he's not
I
hiding.
hope that he's awake for it. I really do. I really do. And I put a video on my channel a few days ago, short video, like 15 minutes. Rooney the other week or last week talking about like Bob Pompiani asked him about their quarterback room, and he said that they're not opposed to making a move, making a trade if that becomes an option. And then he kind of retraced his steps a little bit the next day, saying that they're not going to like do this blockbuster move or anything. But do you think that that's kind of in the same parallel you're talking about, like that he's kind of being open about the fact that they need something better at that spot, like him come out, like just strictly come out and saying that, like, yeah, like they're open to making another move or making a trade or something like that?
Yeah, I think the trade aspect is probably not there. He came out forward and say it's unlikely that they're going to do the trade thing. But they're very adamant about bringing in competition. They were very adamant about speaking highly of Mason Rudolph for maybe perhaps there was some interest there. I don't know if there still is. Maybe there is. Maybe Mason just wants to hear from everybody else to see, test the
Mhm.
waters a little bit, and maybe he has some kind of agreement with the Steelers that if they match whatever he gets, then he'll stay or something like that. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
but regardless, they were saying that they were going to do something. Now they brought up free agency. They brought up Mason Rudolph in free agency, but they brought up free agency. The draft wasn't really an avenue that they brought up, but free agency was. So, like I said, it kind of goes back down to, in my opinion, it's probably between Mason Rudolph and Ryan Tannehill as far as who's going to be coming back. And I think that whoever that is, it's expected that they're probably going to be the starter, regardless of what competition that they said that there may be. You know what I mean? And we'll see. We'll see what happens. I know that when it comes to the Steelers, it's better to watch what they do, not what they say. And they've said a lot of things like that the 2024 starting quarterback is currently on the team, and things like that,
Mhm.
and that they have confidence in Kenny Pickett, that they think he can be the starter. But at the end of the day, they benched a healthy Kenny Pickett for Mason Rudolph, and so
Mhm.
you can't twice too. So you can't go into it saying that oh, it's because of the injury or this or that. He had several weeks to get back into it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
If
no,
it
I
was
don't
Ben
buy any of the
Roethlisberger,
excuses.
right? If it was Ben in his second year, yeah, if he got hurt for one game and then came back the entire week, he was going to go in. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
it's because they know Kenny
well,
sucks. That's why.
there was the rumors that they were going to bench him before they fired, um,
Mhm.
Matt Canada. So I think they kind of saw the writing on the wall. I don't think that they saw Mason Rudolph and saw his performance and say, "Oh, that's what it's supposed to look like." Man, what we were seeing with Kenny Pickett wasn't good. I think they knew, for a while that the quarterback play was subpar.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And they saw a good quarterback do some good
yeah.
things, and they saw what the rest of the team can do. And I think that
Mhm.
they want somebody that can make decisive, those decisive decisions and put the ball where it needs to be put. Accuracy wasn't very good for Kenny Pickett. I don't know. I don't. I was watching back on some of the tape and some of the film, and there's times where he's throwing like a back shoulder pass, but then I started looking at it and I'm like, I don't know if that's really a back shoulder pass. If much less an underthrow. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
because there was some of these back shoulder passes in the screen game when they weren't needed, and also over the
Mhm.
middle where it made the ball more difficult to catch. Like for instance, again, Cincinnati, the Deontay Johnson catch that should have been a touchdown. They called it a no-go. Or an incompletion because he hit the ground, and had Tomlin challenged it, it probably was going to be a touchdown. But on that play there, if you go back and watch it, you know, Deontay Johnson has his guy beat, and Pickett puts it on his back shoulder, and he has to
Mhm.
turn around and catch the ball facing the defender, and then
Mhm.
turn around. He made that catch way more difficult than it had to have been. I guarantee you, if he puts the
Mhm.
ball, in front of him instead, even if the guy tackles him, he's not, 360 in the air trying to catch the ball.
Right.
I bet you
Right.
he holds on to it throughout the entire time, and that's a touchdown.
Right.
So, those things matter. That's the difference
Yeah.
between a good quarterback and an average quarterback or a sub-average quarterback, is those inches and those throws and
Yep.
those moments that count. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm pretty sure Daniel and anybody that watched my video know kind of where I stand with the quarterback position. I'm not a fan of running it back with what you had last year. Mitch is gone. And I'm not a fan of the Ryan Tannehill experiment. I think that's just a waste of time. I really do.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of talk out there this past week with Justin Fields, ESPN, Colin Cowherd was talking about it. PFF or Pro Football Talk, whatever it is, said that there are some. I don't listen. Whenever these reports come out, it doesn't matter what it is. Appreciate it, Afton. I think most people are on my side about that. Whenever reports come out, it doesn't matter what it's about. I don't fully buy into it. You always got to take stuff with a grain of salt, right? You can't just sit and believe everything you read on the internet. But in terms of the Justin Fields talk that's been going on this week that people have been talking about, Florio, or not Mike Florio, somebody from PFF. It was somebody. I can't remember. These guys are all the same. But there was somebody talking about that they had that somebody that a source, whatever it was, knows that there's some people in the Steelers front office that are intrigued by him. That Mike Tomlin did like him coming out. Now that's not like anything. That's just something as in like a little nugget in the sense of trying to support that narrative, right? That Tomlin
Yeah,
liked him
yeah,
or
and
whatever come
Schefter
out
came
of
out saying it too.
Yeah, so that's not like in the sense of them saying, Tomlin really likes him right now and is looking at him. That's just something that they're throwing out there to support their case. But the Fields talk has been going on, and there's a lot of people that it kind of gets people excited. I know there's people out there that don't really care for that move. Here's the thing. No matter what the Steelers do at quarterback this year, people are going to hate it and people are going to like it, right? Doesn't matter what they do. They could go out and they could probably go get Justin Herbert and trade TJ Watt for Justin Herbert, and people are going to hate it, right? Like it doesn't matter what's going to happen. No matter what quarterback room the Steelers go with, there's going to be people that are okay with it, and there's going to be people that aren't. It doesn't matter who's in there, right? But in terms of the Justin Fields talk going on, I've been somebody that has been, if you're going to play the quarterback roulette game, in terms of all the options out there, Justin Fields is on his last year, and he's got a fifth year option. And that fifth year option is kind of the ticky-tacky thing that people will talk about. And the Bears are probably going to take a quarterback with the first overall pick. And the Steelers line in terms of Justin Fields' next team drastically went up from plus 1,000 to being a favorable minus 125. And those were just Vegas odds. Now, Vegas, again, you're not really going to always put a lot of stock into that. They're going to kind of do their thing, what they see fit, whatever. But I do like the talk. I do like the speculation about it. I think it makes things fun. It makes things a little fun to kind of talk about. But Fields has kind of been somebody. Now, in terms of, like I said, your options, who's out there this year, and even going into next year, who's out there, he's been somebody that I would definitely rather have in there than what they currently do and rolling with Ryan Tannehill and stuff like that. And I can give you reasons why. There's a couple reasons why as to why people wouldn't really like the Fields thing, especially with depending the draft capital you have to give up, determining the 5th-year option with that aspect. But I think that there's upside for him. He's shown bad football over 3 years, but he's also shown things where he has shown superstar potential, and he has shown playmaking ability at that spot. Now, you can go through the ins and outs and everything like that you want to talk about with young quarterback situations. I'm not really going to talk about that. But just in terms of where I stand with the quarterback spot, I'm not going to sit and say who I want right now. But I just want them to look at all their options, Daniel. I want them to look at their options. I want them to be honest with themselves. I want them, if there are possibilities out there with the Fields, possibilities out there with the Kirk, possibilities out there, making a move somewhere. I don't know. I don't have all those answers, but they know probably what things are going to be looking like come next month. I just want them to be honest with themselves, man. I want them to be honest.
Mhm.
I want them to actually have the courtesy of possibly saying like, hey, if there's some opportunity here to go in a different direction and upgrade and get some more playmaking ability at this position, we're going to try to do it. I don't want them to play the safe route. I don't want them just to stick with the status quo, that they don't want to part with draft capital or anything like that. I think that this team has good talent. I think that this is a team that has talent that can make a push, but you need help at the most important position. And I don't think that what you currently have and bringing in Tannehill and things like that, that's not going to do it, man. That's not going to cut it. And there's not any options right now that you're going to go get somebody that you know is going to be your guy for 15 years. That's not available. But you have options out there that you can get better at your spot for a year or two. And there's maybe an option or two out there that maybe you could roll the dice with somebody that has that upside and could end up paying off. I don't really know.
Right.
But that's where I stand with the quarterback spot. I don't want to see them play it safe. I'm tired of that. I think a lot of fans will be upset, Daniel, if they go with Kenny and Ryan. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
for
me,
let me answer Devin. Let me answer Devin's question real quick, since he asked it. Because it was kind of talking about what would you do at quarterback if you're in charge? Would you make a splash and trade up to 3 for Daniels or go another direction? Well, Devin, I've seen you on Twitter. I know where you stand. I know your opinion on it. I think it's pretty similar to mine. Trading up to 3 or in the top 5, that's a very, very big swing at pick number 20. So it depends on how comfortable that they would feel on doing that, if that would even become an option or available. Next year's quarterback class isn't too promising. Now, I'm not going to say that as a definitive. You never know how this next college football season is going to go and how guys are going to get better and stuff. But as we stand right now, you're probably going to prefer this one over next year. But in terms of that, I like some of those guys in the top 5. I'm not going to say I would do it because there's just no way the Steelers are going to trade in the top 5. Like, it's just going to take too much, and they're not an organization.
Well, he said if you were in charge.
Me? Well, it would depend what I was like. If it was me, like, yeah, I would just have to look and see what it would cost. And if it's something I think I could do, I mean, sure, why not? But like, if I'm sold on Jaden Daniels being my guy, but I just like the direction of looking at like a Kirk, a Field, somebody like that is just an upgrade over what you got. I really do. I don't want to play it safe. I think that there's talent on this team, and I think with just where the league is, guys getting healthier at quarterback in the AFC, I just don't feel like having the worst quarterback room in the league with Ryan and Kenny there. That's the direction they go.
Yeah, but
that's just my opinion.
Right. Well, here's the thing: is there a quarterback out there in free agency or in the draft that's going to automatically turn you into one of those quarterback rooms? That's up there. Probably not. I don't see a franchise quarterback out there in free agency, regardless of anybody. When it comes to Fields, I think he's got better arm talent than Kenny Pickett, but he suffers a lot of the same issues when it comes to pocket presence. He runs around a lot and gets sacked a lot. But the one thing that he does have that's worse than Kenny is the turnover issue. I think he's turned the ball over 40 plus times in 40 games. So that's like over one time a game. That's a big issue, and there's been flashes, but there's not been some, consistent play over a specific amount of time over, a 3 or 4 game sample. It's been flashes here and there. So it's a pretty big unknown. I think that when it comes to Tannehill and Rudolph, which would be another guy that I thought that would Steelers would target in free agency. I think one of the things that those guys are going to do is they're going to stay in the pocket. Tannehill maybe a little bit longer than you'd want him to. Then he's going to take a couple sacks and get hit a little bit more than you want, which, given his age and stuff, if he ends up, being a Steeler and, the Steelers don't address the center position, then, you might see Kenny Pickett throughout the year. But I digress. So with that being said, Fields, he's got some advantages. Like I said, he's got the arm talent. He's got the age. He's younger than Kenny Pickett. And, he's got probably the higher ceiling. I think right now his floor is higher as well than Kenny Pickett. So overall, he'd be a better option. I just don't know if you want to, spend the capital for that. Now,
Well, that's what it depends on. Like they're not going to get the Bears aren't going to get a big haul for Justin Fields. He's not at that place in his career. But I think with what you were saying, that he's had a lot of bad film, but he's also had good film. He's also had when you look at different moments through his career, different games, he's had some superstar situations, and he has a lot of good athletic ability. I think if you bring him in there with Arthur Smith and the way they love to run the football, Najee, Jalen Warren, I think that's dangerous, man. I really do. Mm-hmm. I think that play action game, Freiermuth, gut, like they kind of like that Arthur Smith like to use in Atlanta a little too much sometimes. But still, I think that's a fun conversation to have. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I think that the Bears, if they're going to be set on trading a quarterback, they're going to have to settle with what they're going to get for Justin Fields. That's just the way it is. But I think probably the main kicker with that, like, you're not going to give up a big haul or anything. Main kicker is that 5th-year option, how much you'd have to pay for that. But that's the thing too. Like that's kind of the risk thing where if you look at him, what was that cup?
It's a jug, man. I got to drink that much water.
You just got to stay hydrated.
Every single day.
Yeah, you just got to stay hydrated.
Just in case I gotta fight with somebody that breaks into my house or something.
Yeah, you never know. Stay hydrated.
Have you seen Pineapple Express?
Not the full movie. No, I've seen.
There's this part where he's talking about his shaved armpits, and Seth Rogen goes, "What's the purpose of you telling me that?" And he's like, "It gives me, it makes me more aerodynamic when I fight." And so, yeah, this thing makes me better when I fight. Yeah.
Well, there you go, Devin. There's your answer. But anyway, just really long story short with Fields. Sorry, Daniel, cut you off. Just really long story short, Bears aren't going to get a big haul. You really just have to, if you're the Steelers, doesn't hurt to make a phone call, put a call in, kind of see where talks go. 5th-year option's a little tricky there on that, but I think that if you're the Steelers, if you like what you see, if you think you can get some more out of that, and some more of that untapped potential there, it might end up paying off with the 5th-year option possibly, and maybe that could be your guy, maybe not. I really don't know. Sometimes you have to take risks. Are the Steelers going to get Fields for real? Well, I don't know, Kevin. A lot of people are talking about that this week. I'm not going to 100% say. I'm not going to 100% say no. I'm not. I think that Daniel doesn't think so. It's probably unlikely, but I'm not going to throw out the realm of possibility being there, especially if the Bears are going to have to settle with what they're going to get. You're telling me you wouldn't give up a 3rd-round draft pick for that and upgrade your quarterback room? And see, I wouldn't get, or I would give that.
I mean, you also, it's not just the 3rd rounder, it's also the paycheck that comes with it. You're going to have to. That's why I said,
you have your 5th-year option, but that's the thing. Like sometimes you got to take risks. That's something the Steelers don't do. They don't ever take a risk on anything.
Well, I mean, you kind of probably want to take a more calculated risk there. Somebody that is that many turnovers in that short amount of time is concerning. And plus you have to pay him. I think that if this was a situation where, he was going into his 3rd year, kind of like where Kenny Pickett is, I think at that point you're probably getting, a 2nd or maybe even that 3rd. But if you're going into a final year where there's no guarantee that this guy's going to sign with you. He may, you might get this trade done beforehand and not want to do an extension. And you have to sign him for his 5th-year option. And then if he doesn't want to sign that, what are you going to do? You're going to franchise tag him at that point? That's a lot of money, And so it's a big risk, given those type of situations. And usually when there's that type of risk, the trade value goes down. And so, it's kind of like in other deals where you have somebody who's getting paid a lot. You'll end up doing the trade. One person's going to either, get stuck with the payment and the other one's going to get stuck with the pick or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you're going to trade somebody and it was, a money issue, let's just say the Steelers were going to trade Allen Robinson because the Steelers owe him $11 million. Mm-hmm. They would get a higher draft pick for him. And let's just say he was amazing, right? He would get a higher draft pick for him if the Pittsburgh Steelers covered some of that money. If the Steelers weren't covering that money and they had no choice and he was disgruntled and he was leaving or the Steelers found his successor, kind of similar to like what we're expecting the Bears to do, then yeah, I think that you're going to end up getting much lower compensation than you would think for.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so those are other factors into it. And that's why I said before on some of these videos that you are going to hear every rumor possible with the Steelers quarterback room. Russell Wilson's been thrown out there. Kirk Cousins, Mike Florio said that there's some people in his camp he knows that like that idea. That's what I'm saying. You're going to hear every rumor out there. You are.
And I don't like Kirk Cousins.
I'm excited to hear. I'm excited to not excited, but I'm interested in terms of the speculation, the rumors, because then it's stuff we can talk about.
Right. I would be, and I know a couple of people ask who would I go for? What would I have done? Honestly, what I would have done if I was in charge of the quarterbacks, and Nathan will attest to this, I would have drafted Will Levis last year and gave up on Kenny Pickett then. But I digress. I mean, I was getting castrated last year for saying that, he wasn't seeing the field very well. Yeah, well, I guess things happen.
Shameful. Saw that on Twitter, Devin.
I would think that the best two, I'd probably go for a QB that I don't think you need a superstar that's going to compete with Kenny Pickett. I think you can get an average quarterback, and there's going to be a competition there because Kenny Pickett isn't a superstar. You know what I mean? He's not elite.
Right.
So, if you go out there and you get somebody who has, just a little bit more talent or ability there, it's going to surpass him, even if it's like a Ryan Tannehill, Sam Darnold type of guy. Now, I think that those two dudes are probably not what you want to see or hear, but I think that the Steelers have a lot of holes, and they got a lot of decisions they need to make. Cam Hayward's going to be going into the season making a lot of money, and they need to make a choice on that. Mm-hmm. And, you got to come up to the realization, like, all right, are we able to go get a ring this year? Is that realistic? Can we go all in? Or is it time that we start to do a rebuild, and start filling in some of these holes?
Use that word.
Right. Because if you go up there and you try to draft, right, if you try to get capital for a quarterback, you're losing a lot of other positions. You're giving up other positions. Like, for instance, if you gave up a second this year and a fifth to move up from the first round into the top 10, you're giving up a center and probably a wide receiver or something that you would have had. And, there's positions of need for that. And so, I think that because of the amount of holes that the Steelers have, I would probably pick up one of those three quarterbacks, Rudolph, Tannehill, or even Sam Darnold. And then, try to fill up as many of the holes that I can. And then next year, I know you're saying it's not the best quarterback class. I haven't looked into it. Or even this year, if there's a quarterback that falls to 20, I think you need to pounce on it. Sure. At the end of the day, there's been far fewer franchise quarterbacks that turned into, or free agent quarterbacks that turned into franchise quarterbacks than those that were drafted to the team, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't think I am. And so, I mean, if the Steelers go out and get Fields, I'm going to still root for them. It's not, I don't, I'm going to root for them. I'm going to hope that they win, but there's a difference between hoping and rooting and the expectation. I mean, the same thing with Mitch Trubisky. If Mitch Trubisky would have stayed and somehow found himself on the field, I'm going to vote for him. I'm going to root for him. I'm going to say,
well, yeah, that goes just for the fandom itself. And that's why I said, no matter what the Steelers are going to do, there's going to be people that are glad about it. And there's people that aren't going to be. Like if the Steelers are going to roll with Kenny and let's say they sign Ryan Tannehill, there's going to be people that are okay with that. And there's going to be people that aren't happy about it.
Well, it's not even that. It's not even that. Like if Mitch Trubisky were to play, I'm going to want him to win. But am I really going to be, upset if he throws a couple of interceptions? Or is that going to be something? I mean, I'll be upset, but is that something that I shouldn't expect?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, there's a valid, a realistic aspect to the performance of the team and the players. I don't see any quarterback that is out there available for the Pittsburgh Steelers that's going to be able to win them a Super Bowl this year, outside of the draft. I mean, if somebody comes into the draft that they're able to move up and get somebody amazing that we don't know anything about, maybe. But I don't see, a quarterback that's out there in free agency or one that's currently on the team that's going to beat a Mahomes, that's going to beat a Josh Allen in those type of shootouts, in those type of elements. If you're going to go all the way where you want to go, you're going to go to Kansas City. You're going to go to Buffalo.
Yeah.
I
hear you. I agree with you, Daniel. That's the current state of just where the market is, where the draft situation's at. And I agree. No matter what direction they go. Now, I think if let's say that they would let's say Kirk, okay, hypothetically, just that. I think that Kirk before he got hurt was to me, he was playing as the best quarterback in the NFL before he got injured. He really was. And I'm not saying that you bring him in, he's going to go to Arrowhead or anything, but I think he definitely raises your chances in the AFC versus somebody else. I'm not going to go into the intangibles, I'm not going to have a conversation about every single quarterback that would come in and the pros and the cons about it. But I think
when it comes to Kirk,
from what you're saying, Daniel, I agree.
Right, but when it comes to Kirk, he's got a really major injury. I mean, the Achilles tendon is. I mean, there's which leg is it?
I don't know what leg it was. I really don't. I don't remember.
That's going to be important. Which leg it is, and there's the psychological aspect of it. There's a lot of things that go into when you get a serious injury like that. But I don't know. I think that Kirk, he wants a lot of money too. What is he asking for? 90 million over 2 years?
I'm not really sure, but it is.
90 million over 2 years.
Yeah, if the Steelers would want to really do that, if there's a heavy interest, you can obviously make it work. The NFL cap situation is freaking a lot of it's a freaking joke at the end of the day. Like there's so many teams that can be minus $45 million in cap space, and then for whatever reason they sign two max players. It's ridiculous how it is. So you'd be able to make it work regardless. The thing with Fields is like I think there's stuff there, and so then that's just kind of like you have to play a risk reward type game with him. But to me, with the talent you have on offense, the talent you have, I just think, even though I think Daniel's pretty correct on when you look at whatever move you would make, how like really would anybody be able to take you Super Bowl? I agree with Daniel pretty much on that. But I think that if you're the Steelers and you are trying to win and you like the era and you have star talent there, and they have some really darn good talent on their offense, I want to upgrade my spot and see what I can do.
Right. But here's the thing. Let's look at, let's look at Justin Fields for a second. He's 5 of 8 last year. He was 61% complete. He had 16 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. But in his career, he's had 40 touchdowns to 30 interceptions and only 60% completion overall, 10 and 28. So he hasn't shown the ability to elevate his team or his offense to the point where they're victorious. I understand that, there's some debate about the organization, but he had receivers. He's had running backs. He's had a lot of things. And, he has the weapons around him. He leaves the pocket early and when it's not needed, and he turns over the ball constantly. Now, these are just the interceptions. I'm going to try to find out, what were his fumbles, because I think that's just as high, if not, I think it was somewhere around double-digit fumbles. And yeah, I don't see that this guy. I don't see Super Bowl potential. I don't see competing. I get he's an athlete, but so is Brady Quinn. Am I wrong?
No, you're not.
So you can have those things, but if you don't show it on the field, then it is what it is. And like I said, I'm not excited about him. I'm not excited about any of the quarterbacks. I would get excited if the Steelers made a move in the draft for a QB. I get that there'd be a lot of, trade value and stuff like that. But if somebody fell that they loved, man, go up and get your guy, because, you go look at who was in the divisional championship, those 4 quarterbacks for the AFC, that's elite. You also have players that, like Aaron Rodgers, who didn't even play last year. I think he's going to come back this year. We'll see how the Jets do with him as a quarterback. But I think they're going to do a lot better than, they did last season without him. You can look at the years where, the Colts, when they lost Peyton Manning, I think they went 1-15 and ended up getting Andrew Luck. And then when he went down, they were subpar. The quarterback makes a huge difference, believe it or not. And so, I don't know. And like I said, he may have played against garbage O-lines. That doesn't change the fact that he's put the ball on the ground I don't know how many times and has thrown I don't know how many interceptions. Everybody says that the Steelers' offensive line was real bad this year and whatnot. And Dan Moore did bad, and so did Mason Cole, and to a certain extent that they did. But there wasn't that many. There wasn't that many sacks when Mason Rudolph went in. Mason Rudolph is not the athlete that Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett are. Why was there less sacks? Because he stayed in the pocket and he knew how to move in the pocket, and the offensive line knew where he was at. And I was listening to Ramon Foster about it, and he was talking about some of these mobile quarterbacks that leave pockets when they're not supposed to, and how much more difficult that job becomes because of the quarterback and because he's moving around and not staying where he's supposed to stay. That's one of the biggest qualities, and that's one of the things that they brought up was staying in the pocket is one of the biggest things, quality a quarterback has to have in order to be successful. They have to have that trait. And if you don't, you're gonna suffer for getting hit a lot. It doesn't matter who the offensive line is. There was times where, I have a picture of it where there is no one around Kenny Pickett for about 8 yards. And he's doing this weird dance in the back behind the line after not throwing the ball. And this is against the Las Vegas Raiders. In fact, I have it posted up, I think, on my Twitter. And if not, I'll go post it up on my Twitter after the show. So go follow me at State of Steelers, where he's doing this weird dance behind the offensive line. And there's nobody around him. Nobody at all. And I don't get it.
Yeah, it's bad.
And so when you look at
I don't either. I don't.
When you look at for me, when you look at a Mason Rudolph or you look at a Tannehill, at least they're going to stay in the pocket. I think that if they're going to stay in the pocket and like Deontay Johnson said, go through the full read and give the opportunity for the receiver to, put the ball in their hands and do something with it. I'd rather have those quarterbacks, to be honest with you, than somebody who can run around and, run 40 yards in 4.4. And
how do you feel about Jimmy Garoppolo?
Oh, hell no, man. That guy, he's over the hill. He's defenses know what he likes and what he dislikes. He's a backup quarterback at this point.
How do you feel about
maybe he had to pee. Could have been.
How do you feel if Seattle doesn't there was some Adam Schefter put out earlier today about Geno Smith's contract. That if Seattle doesn't do something, I forget by what date, he would be able to. There could be some teams interested in making a trade. What do you think about Geno Smith?
He's no better than probably he'd be probably equivalent to like a Mason Rudolph and a Tannehill. Tannehill at the top of his game. That's one thing we don't know about him is, how is he going to play at the age of 36? We all know what he did in 2019, 2020, and things like that. But, he was in his early 30s then. He's 36 now. So that's a big difference.
Yeah, it doesn't. Tannehill doesn't do it for me. I think he's getting his guarantee money and staying in Seattle. Yeah, I think that's how it's going to happen, Jer. I know Schefter just said it was something if he wasn't going to get that teams could make a call, but yeah, Seattle's probably going to stick with him until they have their next decision on what direction to go. Well, we'll see what happens with the quarterback situation. We're still in February. There's going to be a lot of talk. As I live in Nashville, Tannehill sucks. Yeah, Tannehill does suck. It's his days are over.
Yeah, there's no excitement.
Anyway, yeah. If anything happens before March, probably not. But there's going to be a lot of talk that goes on, a lot of speculation that's going to go on till March. So it's going to be really interesting. It's either people are going to love it or hate it with what the Steelers decide to do. The Steelers also got rid of Presley Harvin, Chuck Okorafor. I was kind of surprised, Daniel, that not that they did that, but just how quickly they made some of these moves. And they didn't trade Chucks. Maybe they tried to call people. Nobody was interested. Who cares? Presley Harvin, I truly don't understand. March 13, Justin Fields, Steeler Nation. We'll see. They got to make a move. But Presley Harvin, I just don't understand why they stuck with him so long. I really don't. To me, it's mind-boggling how you can stick with such bad punting play, special teams play like that, man. He just the epitome of inconsistent, and he would just put them in such bad spots. And it was the right decision to move on. I just don't get why they took it so long.
Well, I think that the reason was for last year not doing it is because I think his father passed away. And then his grandmother passed away right away.
Yeah.
And so he was in a weird place mentally. And so, I think that, they gave him the benefit of the doubt when it came to that aspect. And this year when, it started getting cold and, the weather started dropping and things like that. And the kicks became more important. He started going back to being very inconsistent or being consistently bad. And, the Steelers I think they saw the writing on the wall. Now, I think that one of the things that they liked about him more than anything was the fact that, his holding ability, his ability, they talked about it being elite. And so given how close the games were that the Steelers were playing, most of their games, especially when it was, pre Mason Rudolph getting into the game, there were all the wins were 1-score wins. If you get somebody new in there that mishandles, the snap on the field goal, then, you might lose a few of those games. So I think that's probably the reason why they kept him for so long. At the right moment, as soon as they could, they released him. As far as Chuck Okorafor, I'm surprised that they didn't try to, call some people, or I'm surprised nobody was interested in him. He's a all right tackle. He's not I would say he's probably top maybe 30 in the league as far as tackles go. And, he's somewhere in the middle of the pack. You know what I mean? And I was surprised that, nobody would get anything for him, or they wouldn't get a 7th rounder for him. But, they let them go. They probably did the favor so that they can go and, sign with somebody else pretty quickly. And, to answer or to the question about, May 31st or whenever it was, Fields to the Steelers, if that happens, and I hope he does well. I'll be rooting for him. Yeah. I think he'll beat Kenny Pickett, and I think somebody else said that if Kenny was in Chicago, he wouldn't win a game or would win one game. I don't disagree with that.
I don't really understand the win record narrative that comes with him, Daniel. I really don't.
I don't know. I mean,
with Kenny, like when people try to defend him, and dude, it's funny because like any of us that just want to see them go in a different direction from Kenny, it's no hate against him. It's not hate. It's just reality. It's not good. It's very bad to watch. It's very bad to watch. And it's hard to just have faith and confidence that somebody at 26 years old is just going to have a historic turnaround that's going to merit a first round pick at that point. Like it's hard for me to get behind that.
Yeah,
So
no, I
do
agree.
I want the best for him? Yeah, absolutely. I was all for being patient with him his rookie year, and even when they drafted him, it was just something of, okay, they take him, and hopefully maybe they can get something out of him. If not, then you move on. And I think that it's just at the point, like, you're 2 years in. I know there's some factors into it. It's not all his fault, but he just doesn't cut it in really most areas. So I think once you're over 25 games, it's kind of easy to sit and say, okay, this is probably it, right? It's probably it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Steelers do a few cuts. It was, I think, caught a lot of people off guard, just that they were really quick to do it right away after the Super Bowl ended. There's going to be a lot more to come. There's some guys that are going to be on the chopping block, maybe some contracts they restructure. I think, Kevin, if you're able to, you do. If it's through the draft, if it's through a move in the market, I really don't know. So yeah, I don't know. But it's going to be a very big offseason for them. There's a lot of things that have to happen for them. I think that this is their biggest offseason in a long time. Will they make it their biggest? I don't know. I think they will be aggressive. Mike Tomlin talked about that. They want to be aggressive in free agency. I think that I think we all think that they are pretty in the know on just things need to change, and they need to really take advantage of any opportunity there. Kevin, we appreciate you, man. Thank you for subscribing to this channel. Subscribe to Daniel State of Steelers. He does a lot of good film breakdown. I think you would like and enjoy. We go back and forth on our channels and talk about the Steelers weekly as much as we can. I trust Khan and Weidel too. I like Omar Khan. I think he's the right guy. And I think that he has a little bit of a different take than Kevin Colbert does. I think we saw some of that last year. It's right there, right under his name, Kevin. State of Steelers. You will, if you just look that up, you will come across his channel. It's like what was it? Yellow background, Daniel. It's like a yellow logo.
Yeah. Yellow
So,
logo says State of Steelers.
Yeah, yellow logo. So Daniel puts up a lot of good content.
Right. I'm also a part of Steel Curtain Network, formerly Behind the Steel Curtain. I do Monday show Hangover with Shannon White, and Friday I have a audio only podcast, which I got to get going to record here pretty soon.
Yeah. Yep.
And you can also see the my channel State of Steelers on YouTube. Got somewhere around just shy of about 4K subs right now. We're at 3.6, something like that. But I break down film on the game. My majority of it's the passing game. I do have film in other areas as well, and then I'll put up some highlights and things like that. If you type in Mason Rudolph highlights or highlights going to the or hype video going into the postseason, you'll probably find mine. It's got like almost 27,000.
You'll see his channel, State of the Steelers. Yeah, you'll see it. But we'll see what happens if there's anything that goes on the rest of this week and the next week, Steel related. Usually the off season before free agency kind of kicks. It's kind of slow. So Daniel and I, we might not do a show every week until there's consistent news. But as of right now, just Mitch, Harvin. We talked about Arthur Smith a couple weeks ago coming in. Some of the Fields talk that's been going on, quarterback situation we talked about tonight. Other than that, that's kind of really really the main stuff going on so far. But at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. Might not share the same opinions or the same ideas, but hopefully the Steelers do right for the most part and can get us excited for this year, where they can take a step forward than what they did this past year. Because to me, this past year, Daniel, was supposed to be a good jump forward, and it wasn't. So hopefully they can. Yeah. So hopefully they can. But Daniel, good ended there on that one.
Yeah, 100%. I want to say thank you to everybody. I just put the link into. Oh, sounds good, Kevin. I put the link into the subscription, the comment section. I'm sorry. That's my other channel too, guys. You guys might recognize me from the Drunk Turkey Show also. That's my other YouTube show.
It's grown very big. So if you guys are into some of the things that the Drunk Turkey Show talks about, just different things of, I don't know, Daniel, what would you say? Conspiracies and, murder mystery stuff?
True crime, murders,
True crime.
conspiracies.
Yeah.
Right now,
You guys are
we're pretty heavy. Yeah, we're pretty heavy in the Brian Koberger and case out there in Idaho, the homicide of 4 college students. I've actually interviewed one of the victims' mothers. Sad situation, man. And the other case that we're covering currently, majority is the one out of Delphi. So hope you guys enjoy it.
Wow.
But thank you guys. I appreciate everybody. Like and subscribe on this channel and on mine. And until next time.
Yep. Till next time, guys. We'll be back on Daniel's show probably next Wednesday or so. So keep an eye out. And we'll see if anything happens the rest of the week. Thank you guys for your support. Good seeing you. Have a good week.